Good afternoon. I am showing 12 o'clock here in Little Rock. It's Tanya Williams at the Division of Child Care and Early Childhood Education. So welcome to our monthly provider call. I don't know why, but it feels like it's been a very long time since we connected. March is a very, very long month, gang. So it's so good to see all of you. It looks like we have people still joining in a really large group today. So real excited about that. We have a full agenda, so I want to just jump right in. But I am going to start with something very, very exciting that happened last week, and you may have already seen it. But last Tuesday, I believe, Kelly Hilbert and I went to Hensley. For any of you in the central Arkansas area, Hensley is just outside of Little Rock. But we went to Hensley, Arkansas, and recognized Amber Scott Riddle as the Outstanding Early Childhood Professional in Arkansas. And let me just tell you guys, I was excited about getting out and being in a program, but you know, I don't know the folks when we get the nominees. There's a group that reads them and there's a whole scoring process. So I never know what to expect. I didn't know Amber. I had never met her before the day we went out. I didn't know anything about her program. I didn't look ahead. But it was probably the most exciting time that I've had in a long time. The comms team or the communications team here at DHS tagged along with us, and they wanted to stay and play all afternoon. So I didn't see Amber on the call. She's probably busy in her program, but I just want to say, if you are struggling or you need to see a model program, it wasn't just about acknowledging Amber, who's an amazing person. Her program is amazing. And when I say amazing, I mean amazing. The teachers, and it wasn't just Amber, the teachers in her program, the children, the noise level, everything about it was amazing. So it was just an incredible time. She did not know why we were coming. She knew we might be stopping in. It looked like a very routine day for Amber. And I did tell everybody, I said, listen, I've worked in the field. It could be disastrous. You know, 5 staff could have called in today, but it was about as perfect as anything I've seen. So I just really want to give a shout out to Amber Scott Riddle. I don't want to tell her story, but I do want to tell you all that, and I don't know everything. I didn't really spend a lot of time talking to her specifically about this because she was so excited to walk us through her program and introduce her staff and her amazing children that she's serving. But it is in Amber's application and it's out on social media. Amber is a former foster child. So just that makes me about as excited as anything about Amber's winning. For those of us who have watched that struggle and work with children, you know, it's a part of her story, and her story is really incredible about how she got into this work related to that, but also she does other things besides childcare. She is a giver to the community. So Amber Scott Riddle, she got married the week before we went out, so her name is Amber Riddle now. But if you need to go see an amazing program, and if you're thinking about playground, please go to Amber's before you make any decisions. I did not see any big structures on her playground, but it is probably one of the best playgrounds I've seen in a long time. So just wanted to make sure that you all knew. So just if you get a chance, there are social media videos. I'm going to drop it in the chat box so that everybody can see it. And then I'm just going to defer to the next folks on. I have to be at the Capitol at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to be on with you guys till about 12:40, and I'm going to make a dash out of here. But I know that we're going to be covering some of the discussion about expansion and supply building. That's a big part. I really wanted us to spend some time on that today. I know we're also going to be talking about better beginnings, and there's been a lot of questions. But Kelly's going to be giving an incredible update about where we are in Arkansas, so I'm really proud of that. And I know that we have our friend from SRI, Todd Grindle, who's going to be sharing an update too, and some others. But I'll stay on as long as I can, guys. But if you get a chance to send Amber a shout out, please do. I'm going to drop that in the chat box and be quiet here and let them move on to Onika.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Well, it's actually good evening now. The first thing that I want to mention is Arkansas Children's Week. As you know, we are excited that we are celebrating Arkansas Children's Week this week, and we want to make sure that everyone that has an opportunity, take the opportunity to either do some type of activity in your program, or if you have an opportunity to go out to some of the events that's going to be going on during Arkansas Children's Week, please have the opportunity to invite your parents, so that because this is actually a good time to have parent engagement, to allow children to be able to explore through creativity. So we definitely want to take the opportunity to do that. The theme this year is humor and happiness. So just take the opportunity to share in that. I think everyone is put this involved. Child Care Aware, A-State, some of our partners are really putting their best foot forward to try to make this an awesome event again this year as usual. So we thank them. And then the next thing we have on the agenda is the 10 Minutes Matter. So the 10 Minutes Matter, that is a DHS now initiative, the 10 Minutes Matter reading campaign. And as you know, some of you all that may have been on last month know that this event or initiative started in March of last month. So, however, with this reading campaign, we want to make sure that you take the opportunity to spread the word. Just share the experience of reading to children, because it's so important to understand how reading boosts brain development, how it can help with parent engagement, how it can help with vocabulary of children. So just take the opportunity to share and create your own events throughout your own program. Create pledges with your parents so that parents can pledge to read. We have the summer coming up, and we just don't want this to fall to the wayside. We want reading to continue to go on throughout the programs and with our children, because we really want to gauge and see maybe sometime in the near future how this initiative is really benefiting our children in the state of Arkansas. So just share the love of reading. And then the next thing we have is, as you know, it is getting hot outside. The weather is just increasingly warm every day. And so we have providers that transport, or we have people just even in your individual cars. We want to ensure that you double check and triple check and quadruple check those vehicles to make sure that we have no children left in them. That is really critical this time of year. And then the last thing I want to share with you all is the Child Care Empowerment Intent Training. That training goes on monthly, and that particular training is going to be April 21st. And so any providers that want to share in that training needs to make sure that they're registered by April 19th. This is a 2-hour training, and you do receive PDR credit for this training. And one of the things we want to ask the providers to do is just to ensure that when you have your participants on, that they are professional when they come to the training. We want to make sure either we see their faces, or if they're going to participate, we don't want to see them laying in bed or see ceilings or other things that we've seen in the trainings, because we are professionals. We're role models to children, and we want to make sure that we are exhibiting that every day wherever we go. So that is all I have, and thank you so much for taking the opportunity to join in with us today on the training, on this event.
And I believe next up, Brenda, is Kayla Bodi with regulatory check information. Kayla? If Kayla is not on, then you will see, are you there, Kayla?
I am. It wouldn't let me unmute for a second, but I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm Kayla Bodi from the Regulatory Check Unit, also known as Background Checks. So we just have a few updates for you. Effective June 30th of 2022, the Division of Child Care and Early Childhood Education will no longer be reimbursing providers for the first year of your INA NICAR subscription cost. So if you have not turned in your invoices for your very first year to be reimbursed, you will need to do that. We will no longer be accepting those after June 30th. And then we do have our monthly background check training. The next one is April 28th. They're always the last Thursday of every month from 12 to 1 p.m. My contact information is also there, and I will put that in the childcare chat box as well, so that you all can see exactly how to reach out to me. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email.
Thanks, Kayla. Just a note, because I'm seeing some chatter in the box. We do not give credit. I'm excited that you think this is worthy of credit, but this is really an informational meeting. It's not a training. So you do not have to put your professional development registry numbers, but thank you for doing that. It is not necessary. So just want to make sure. And thanks, Brittany, for pointing that out. I saw a little chatter going on there. I just want to make sure you guys know that. No need to put your information in the chat box, but we appreciate all of you for attending. And I think we are on to Todd Grindle, my good friend and colleague from SRI.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And thank you to all of you for sharing some of this precious time. So first, I want to acknowledge and express my gratitude for more than 100 folks who over the last few weeks, directors of center-based programs, responded to this survey. It's a tremendous response. And I know there's still a few folks out there who have these emails in their inboxes who are still able to reply. So please, if you haven't done already, for directors of center-based programs, to click on that email and reply. But as a reminder of what we're doing, so this is a grant that was funded by the Federal Administration for Children and Families, and there's two purposes here. One is the Administration for Children and Families wants the rest of the country to learn about the really amazing work that's going on in Arkansas, and that is being recognized throughout the country, and they are eager to hear more about what you all are doing. And the second purpose is for us to provide the Division of Child Care and Early Education with information about how they can best support you, how they can continue to best support you. So we selected a random sample of directors, teachers, and home providers and sent them an email from this arkansas.ece@sri email address, requesting your participation in the survey. So just as a reminder, it's voluntary. You certainly don't have to do this. And we're not evaluating you. We're trying to gather information that we can use to help Tanya and her team to continue to support you. And your information is completely anonymous. We're never going to share your name or your organization's name. We will, as a thank you, send you a $25 Walmart gift card for your time. So as I mentioned, been surveys out to the center-based directors. Those are still open. Now, in the next few, and they've been open for about a month, so you can still respond to those. We're going to be sending surveys out to lead teachers and home providers in just a couple of days. So please keep your eye open. And if you have any questions once you receive that, feel free to give me a call. My phone number is right on there. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, Brenda, I think next up is Paige to talk about expansion and supply building grants that are out right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be with you again today. I thought I would start before I get into the expansion and supply building. I just want to give you a quick update on where we are with the ARPA grants overall. Now, this is as of April 1st. So as of April 1st, we have received 3,368 applications, and we have paid out nearly $100 million. The average payment for the operational grants has been $24,514. This is an average of all of the awards. For the quality improvement, the average grant amount is $66,985. Now, guys, the reason why I'm letting you know what the average payments are is because we still have people who have not applied that qualify for these funds. And you know, there's a reason that we have the money. Obviously, it is to help improve the quality of care for children in the state. So I would just encourage you all, if you know people who have not applied, please encourage them to apply. And if they have questions, they can contact me. It is not a requirement to participate in Better Beginnings in order to apply for these funds. That's just for clarification. Anyway, I think it's exciting that we have been able to distribute that much money, but there's still more available. Now, I wanted to talk to you specifically about the expansion and supply building opportunities, because I've received a lot of questions about these grants. They are very similar, very similar. The intent is to increase the number of infants, toddlers, and school agers that we're able to provide high quality care to in parts of the state that there's an identified need, which there are, unfortunately, a lot of parts of the state that could use the support. I do want to make it clear, though, that neither one of these grants can be used to pay for any kind of new construction, to build a building, to make a major renovation that involves moving a load-bearing wall, or to purchase a new building. It's really to, for the expansion, it's really to look at your space and maybe renovate parts of the building that you're not currently using. Like it is to and for, I'm talking circles, guys, but it's, the questions I've been getting from providers are, can I build a new building on my property? Will that count? Or can I, will this pay to add new classrooms? Neither one of those grants will do that. The funding is really to be used to set up the classrooms. If you think about everything besides the brick and mortar, think about what's required to set up a quality classroom. You would need to help pay for the staff, for the curriculum, for furniture. That's really a majority of what the funds would be spent on. The other big thing, because they're both to increase the number of children that we serve, both expansion and supply building. But here's the big thing that differentiates the two, and this is where I think people are getting confused. Expansion. If you have been in business, if you're in business on or before March 11th, 2021, so if you qualified for the operational, for the quality, then you qualify for the expansion funds. So if you're wanting to serve more children, the route you would take would be through expansion. For the supply building, that's really for brand new providers, or for those who didn't qualify for the other ARPA funding. So that's the distinction there. I know that there are probably a lot of questions, and I appreciate Tanya. I saw that she put my phone number there. I am here to answer questions for you. Tanya, can you think, I'm just kind of drawing a blank here. Can you think of specific things that we need to cover?
I'm gonna go over a couple of things that I see in the chat box page as you've been talking. So the dates are correct. The dates are there because the federal law really defines who can expand, and it has to be providers that were licensed on or before March 11th of last year, 2021. That's why those dates are in there, which means that anybody who was not open before March 11th could be eligible for expansion. So I do know we've had some providers that have opened subsequently between March and now. So you can submit, if you have the invoices and information, you could submit that as a part of it. I just encourage you. I know that I think Michael Alsabrook put the application in the chat box. We do have for expansion, there isn't a hard timeline, but we do have to have the funds obligated by September 30th of this year. We have to, as a state, have all of the funds for existing providers obligated in the stabilization portion. They don't have to be expended until next year, but we do have to show that we have made those allocations and obligations to programs. So if you're planning on expanding your existing program, you need to be working on that now. And then if you're looking at supply building, which would be brand new programs, brand new licensees, please make sure that you look at the grant, because it is a very competitive, specifically laid out grant application that someone has put in the chat box. I believe it's under 10 pages, but you do have to fill that out in order to be eligible for that supply building. And you definitely want to pay attention to the partnerships in it, because really we're looking at how do you partner with essential worker families and businesses, such as a hospital or a manufacturing company, or a school or an entity that has to continue operating even during a pandemic or a crisis. So we're trying to encourage those partnerships, and that also helps you fill your building with children who need care. So we call it supply building or public-private partnership. So please look at those and be aware. We have a date of April 15th, which is quickly approaching. We don't know how many applications we're going to get. So if we don't, we have around $25 million. If we only got applications for requesting 10 million, and that's all that we can, and they were all legible qualifying applications, then we would push that back out for another opportunity. So please know that if we didn't have 25 million submitted, that we will likely go out with an additional request that you all could apply. So if you're just finding out about it today and haven't been on the calls and haven't submitted, get a copy of that supply building. Remember, this is for brand new licenses. If you have an existing license that you're wanting to expand, you can do it through the expansion. So I know that can get a little bit confusing, but it's two different ways to expand. And we really want to, at the end of this, say, prior to March 11th, we had the capacity to serve this many children. After this time frame, and we push this money out, we have the capacity to serve more. And it's specifically for infants and toddlers and school age. We certainly can include pre-K as a part of that license, but we're not funding any standalone pre-K. So I just want to make sure we're clear about that. And then I'm just going to keep going through. I have had a few conversations, and Paige has mentioned it. It's in the application, and we can remind over and over, you cannot build. You cannot do construction or major renovation. It is only for very minor, such as painting or, you know, maybe doing some floor work or something, but you cannot move walls. The federal law is very specific about that. So just be aware of that. And yes, to that person who's asking if you can apply for a site that is not open, that would be in the supply building. And the application has been put in the chat box by Michael Alsabrook. So just scroll back up to it and get that. It's also out, Paige, I believe it's out on the website in the area of COVID, where we have all of the COVID important related information.
It is on the website with all of the other ARPA grant information. But if you go to the division site, it says financial assistance, I think, for providers is the header. But you can always call me, and I'm sure you could actually do a search and find it.
Good deal. Thanks, Paige. And then there's a question about adding more preschool classes. You may submit whatever you feel is needed in your community with your justification, but be aware we are very specific about and very focused on infant, toddler, and school age because of the need. We have mapped it. There are maps out on the website that show you the deserts of where we need infant, toddler care and school age care in the state of Arkansas. We have pre-K in every single county. We do not have infant, toddler care or school age care. That's why we are focused on that.
Also,
Go ahead.
Okay, Tanya, I also just wanted to interject. If for the expansion grant, you cannot apply to serve pre-K. There's not even an option in there to put pre-K.
Thank you, Paige, for that reminder. We are very prioritized here on infant toddler care and school age care. So appreciate you for that reminder. The nomination opportunity for the outstanding early childhood professional, we will make sure that gets posted on the website. That is complete for this year, but there'll be an opportunity next year. We will make sure we're announcing on this call really early. We did announce it, but we did not get a great deal of applications in, and we really do want to do that. So we'll be doing some social media push out for next year. And we usually do it in conjunction with Arkansas Children's Week, or try to. So, you know, just be aware of that, and we can certainly get you the application that we use for this year, and it probably won't change significantly. But we want to see a lot of applicants. I know we have amazing people out there in the field, and we want to make sure we acknowledge that. And then there's a question, if you can reach out to Paige if you've applied for a grant and haven't heard anything. We have not approved any expansion or supply building. Supply building isn't even due until the 15th, but I don't believe any expansion has been approved. But please continue to submit, and you will start seeing approvals on those. But if you've submitted one and you just want to talk with someone about it and make sure they've received it, reach out to Paige and she can verify that. And that answers, hopefully, Kristen Bean, that answers your question. We will start notifying about those in the next couple of weeks. I think we'll start making those. The staff is working on that list of first approvals, and should be within a few days that we'll start announcing those. I think the question about updating bathroom, you know, we probably would want to get a little more specific. I don't think if you're not moving a wall, I believe that one could be allowable. And we did confirm, we did have some folks, and since we've had some really bad tornadic weather in our state over the past couple of weeks, and probably we'll see more in the coming days, we did get permission and approval from our regional office that if it is a pre-manufactured or prefabricated building for a tornado shelter, and you're just putting it in the ground or connecting, that we can approve that. I mean, those are allowed for this funding. So for your money with American Rescue Plan, that one is an okay. We had a lot of questions about that. And I would encourage you, if you have concerns about safety and tornado, that might be something to consider if everything else in your building is in good shape and you don't feel like you need others. But I think your bathroom would be okay. Christy Poindexter, if you want to reach out to Paige and just clarify, as long as you're not moving buildings or walls around inside the building. That's the one thing that I'm very clear about. So that's a great question, Sandra. You are asking if you're going to get a new building. So that one could qualify under the supply building because that would be brand new. We do have some providers that are submitting in their existing space because they may have space that's not being utilized. So that can be for expansion with existing providers. But in your case, if it's a brand new building, that could qualify in the supply building and would be a brand new license. Let me clarify, Mr. Dixon, if every program gets the quality and operations grant, every single program, we allocated funds for quality improvement and operations. So if anybody that was licensed on or before March 11th, per the federal requirement, is eligible and it will get those funds. Not everybody potentially will get expansion, because if every single person wrote, depending on the amount, there wouldn't necessarily be enough funding. So, and I know I've heard from some programs that don't have space, but not everybody is eligible. If you were an existing provider, you are eligible to apply. Whether or not you get approved is a different question. And we're going to be using the data about where there are deserts, where we need childcare, where we need infant toddler care. Quality is a big part of that. So there's several factors, but you know, just because you got the quality improvement and operations doesn't guarantee you expansion money. And if you want to expand in another county, then go for it. Look for space and submit that application. And I've got Paige's number in there probably a couple of times. You cannot add on. It will not pay for major renovations. So I don't know in the expansion grant, when it says adding a kitchen, if you're talking about adding walls, no. If you have space inside your building that you're going to convert or allocate to the kitchen and you're not having to move walls, then that's possible.
So what a lot of providers are doing is that they are paying, you can pay to add on yourself. I mean, to pay to add on to your building and use your own funds for those, and then use the ARPA grant funding for the interior. So it won't pay for the construction. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are offsetting those costs.
Thanks, Paige. And then the final date to apply for supply building, those are due in on April 15th. But remember, I mean, our plan is that's the date, it's final. But if we only get applications for half of the money, then we'll push back out that so that we can use the rest of the money. So we don't know what to expect. It may all get used up in this first round, but the date we have on the current application for supply building is April 15th. Sandra Sheffer, I'm not really sure about your question on expansion grants limited to 48 children. I have not seen anything about that. If you have capacity to serve more children than that, if you're licensed, what you really have to determine is what do you have license capacity for? That is what will guide your numbers. So get with your licensing person and make sure that you can get the capacity number, because that's going to be a part of your application. So that's a great question. If you have a community partner that is willing to remodel the building for you, and then you would rent from them, we can't pay for the remodel, of course, but we can pay for the items that it's going to take for you to serve more children. So your cots, your bookshelves, your books, your manipulatives, your everything that you need for a high quality program, you could submit as part of that application. But they would, I mean, you would be writing, in my opinion, for what to put in that space. We can't pay for the remodel. So I'm guessing they're going to pay for that. So either way, if you're going to be the licensee, you would apply. But if they're going to be the licensee, then they can apply, or you guys can do it jointly on the supply building. So I'll go back on the expansion and supply. The expansion is only existing programs. So if it's somebody brand new, they could not apply for that. If they were not licensed on or before March 11th, they wouldn't be allowed. That's against the federal law. The supply building would allow somebody who has been licensed since or after March 11th, or wants to start at noon now. That is the big difference. The rules on the storm shelter, the information that we sent and got approved is it is a prefabricated building. That's the only rule that I have. I think if you were building it, that wouldn't be allowed. And that was something that we asked permission for, or requested permission around that, because we had some providers asking, but they were asking about prefabricated. It will not pay for, because it's against the federal law, if you're building the actual storm shelter. So that's the main rule. If it's a prefabricated building, if you want us to take a look at what you're trying to do, that would be best. Please do not go out and purchase something and expect to be reimbursed. Make sure you're working with us so that we can make sure that it is an allowable cost. The expansion grants, can they be used for playground expansion or materials? Are you going to be serving more children? I mean, the goal of the expansion, your quality improvement is what I would encourage you to use for your playground. But you can use, if you're going to do expansion, you can include playground. It wouldn't be, you're not going to do that separately unless you have funds to do the expansion for serving more kids. The goal here is to serve more children, gang, when this is done. Can you use your current license for the supply building in another county? You wouldn't have to, because you're going to have to get a new license for that county, for that building. So if you can certainly put that in your application that you're a current licensee and we have history with you, but you're going to have to get a license for the space in the other county. So yes, for expansion and supply building, it really is about increasing numbers. And so for those of you who are maxed out, unless you're going to get into a larger space, this may not be something. And it might not be something that you can do. Use your quality improvement dollars for what you're trying to do in your existing space. That's where you want to take advantage of these American Rescue Plan Act dollars. But not everybody necessarily is going to be expanding, and that's okay. Hopefully some of you will be able to, but we can't use expansion dollars in space where we're not going to increase enrollment. So I'll have somebody, or I will drop the maps in the box, and that is the last question that I see. So we will go on to our next presenter because I know that is important, and I'll put the maps in so that you all can see them.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about Better Beginnings today, and most of you on this call know that we have the June 30th, 2022 deadline to be level 2 of Better Beginnings if you're accepting voucher funding. So that's coming up fast. When we came on the call and Tanya said it's April already, it is unbelievable. We have 2 months to go for this deadline, guys, and it's going to be here before you know it. So to give you kind of a rundown of Better Beginnings right now, we have 235 facilities that are already meeting the level 2 requirements. And I was surprised when we looked up these numbers today, 690 facilities in Arkansas are level 3. So that's really a good number. We have 292 facilities that are currently level 1 that have already applied for level 2. So those are facilities that are accepting vouchers, most of those have voucher families already enrolled, and they are working toward level 2 by that deadline of June 30th. 59 of the facilities that are level 1 that do accept a voucher, some of those may be just essential worker vouchers, some of them may be low income, but 59 of those do not intend to apply for level 2. So after June 30th, any vouchers that they have will be, Brandy will tell you about that, the words that I think they call it deobligated, but anyway, that will happen July 1st. They will no longer be eligible to accept vouchers. That impacts, at those 59 facilities, 720 children. 22 programs have not yet responded with an application or to say that they're not going to apply. Those 22 facilities have 213 children enrolled. It's getting to the point where it's super critical. So if those 22 have not enrolled or have not applied, sorry, it may be too late. I mean, if they don't get their application to us like right away, we may not be able to get it processed in time. So 5 have said they are going to apply, but they haven't yet either. So that would be same situation as those 22. If we don't get those applications quickly, we may not get them processed in time. And those 5 have 29 children in care. So our partners at A-State are working very hard to get everyone scheduled for their ERS reviews. 292 that have applied that we know we're working with right now. That's a lot of ERS reviews to do. And so you can see why it's really important to get the applications in right now so you can get in line to get that done. We know that all of those 292 will get an ERS review done in time. Now, if they don't pass and have to have a second review, that's when it becomes problematic because we only have until June 30th. So what we've done is we've gotten with our partners at Child Care Aware. Many of you on that list of 292 will be hearing from Child Care Aware. They're offering to come out and do technical assistance before you get your ERS review done. And that way, hopefully you'll be ready for it and pass the first time. Any questions about Better Beginnings or that deadline? Looking over here to see if we have any in the chat.
All right, Kelly, I think we'll move on.
I see someone says they need Child Care Aware. So if you need assistance from Child Care Aware, before they contact you, feel free to go ahead and reach out to your local Child Care Aware. If you need help figuring out who that is, I will put my information down there in the chat. Please feel free to contact me and we'll get you hooked up with Child Care Aware. New programs coming on, what's the deadline? So new programs coming on have to be level 2 before they can accept vouchers. The deadline would not impact them. They just wouldn't be able to accept vouchers until they reach level 2. The requirement of waiting 6 months to reapply. So if you, for instance, were level 1, Tiffany, we may need to talk offline because I'm not sure I'm understanding your question completely. But with the 6 months, we have waived that until June 30th. Once June 30th hits, for the facilities that have to get to level 2. Once June 30th hits, then we'll go back to the regular 6 months to reapply. Thank you, Lisa. She put in my email information there.
All right, Brenda, let's move to our next presenter.
All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to give an update for the voucher side of the house. We wanted to touch bases with you all on some things that we have coming up. Patricia, if you can unmute and talk a little bit about the COVID forms.
Sure, good afternoon. It was June 2020 that we allowed providers to submit a CCDF authorized sign-in representative form. These forms allowed you to get the parent's signature to give you authorization to sign the child in and out on the attendance forms for the COVID-19 pandemic. We're effective April 15th. We will no longer allow those forms to be used. You're going to refer back to the CCDF participant agreement in accordance to the attendance record keeping and documenting. If you have any questions, you're free to contact me or email me and I'll be able to work with you all on that. So we will be sending out notification effective April 15th that those forms will no longer be used.
All right, thank you, Patricia. Also wanted to talk to you all about some essential worker items. So as you all are very aware that we sent out notices that redeterminations would be due for all essential workers. That notice was sent out back in September. So those notices were due, or those reevaluations were due to our office by the end of October. We still have some families who have not submitted that information back to us. And currently those cases are now closed. We have been allowing families to still submit that information, and we've been backdating it back to January the 1st. Beginning April 15th, we will no longer backdate those redeterminations that are turned in. So if we receive any redeterminations after April 15th, that family will be advised that they need to reapply, and their application will start from the time that it's submitted. We will no longer backdate to January, beginning April 15th. So if you have people in your programs right now who do not currently have an essential worker essential worker authorization, and they previously had one, likely they have not submitted their redetermination information to us. That redetermination form was sent out to you all, and the information they need to send back with that redetermination form are current check stubs, like within 30 days. And they need to provide their information stating that they do not have at or over $1 million in assets. And we will process those applications and move them forward. If we receive this information after April 15th, we will no longer backdate it. Also want to let you all know that we are going to begin sending out letters to families who are attending Better Beginnings Level 1 facilities. And just thinking about Kelly's update, we have a lot of families who are going to be impacted. So we will begin reaching out to families. We will send you all those notices as well so that you know what your families are receiving, but we will begin reaching out to them. And for the programs who have notified us that they will not be applying for Better Beginnings Level 2, we will begin advising families of what their options are for moving their children to new sites. So we wanted to make sure you're aware of that. I know that a lot of you who are Level 1 programs have noticed that in your billing site that families are keyed past June 30th. If you are a site who has not applied or will not make it to Level 2 by June 30th, those vouchers will be deobligated in your system effective July 1. So we know that they're currently showing it for your program now, but those will not be guaranteed. If you do not make it to Level 2, those will deobligate. So those are the things we wanted to make sure that you are aware of on the voucher side of the house. And we want to know, let's check, do you have any questions here? So Virginia, if you have any parents that are sending anything in and you have not heard back, you can, if it's been over 30 days, you can send that information to me and we will check on that application. Now, keep in mind, we do ask for your patience as we process these applications. We are processing for statewide. So just because someone turned it in last week, it may not be completed by the end of the week. So if it's been at least 30 days and you have not heard anything, please reach out to us. Lynn, we are accepting new families. We have not stopped accepting new applications for essential worker. So as we move forward, we will let you all know whenever we're no longer going to accept new applications. But at this time, we are still accepting new families for essential worker. Yes, Elaine, beginning April 15th. And that is the time when we will no longer accept the form for employees signing in for parents. But if you want to implement that before April 15th, you are free to do so. Heather, as far as next school year, currently we are keying all essential workers to August. We are only going to key out authorizations depending on how our funds allow. So if we have an influx of applications over the summer and we get to the point where we're no longer accepting applications, then we will stop. But we will also message out to providers and families when we will no longer key any additional authorizations. So currently we have only been able to take families out to the end of August. As we assess where we are in regard to funding, we will notify families if we can go any further than that.
Brandy, they are asking if we have a specific form. I think there's some confusion. They think that we have a new form that's required for parents to use to sign in and out.
So we do not have a new form. We're returning back to all of our normal procedures. So the form that you were using pre-pandemic, That is the form that you will use now. You will no longer use the one that says COVID-19 on the top of that form that you use to allow your team members to sign families in and out. You're going to go back to everything pre-pandemic. So you'll use that same sign in and out form that you used prior to. And I believe there's a copy of that in your current participant agreement if you would like to look at that.
And along those same lines, Brandy, I'm seeing a question about if the provider uses ProCare, or I'm assuming any kind of other security sign-in system, that's acceptable, correct? You can
correct.
Yeah,
correct. So if you have any additional questions regarding sign in, sign out, please reach out to Patricia and her team, and they will be happy to update you on anything new, any questions you have in regard to that. And that's all we have, Paige.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for being here today. I didn't see any other additional questions in the chat box, but we're all available. Should something come up that after the call, you can reach out to any of us. One question did just pop up. Are we still signing children in and out? I see some questions popping up.
On the outside of the daycare, so that is no longer a requirement. Parents could always come into your facility. So you can allow parents into your facilities for sign in and sign out. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your licensing specialist.
And Susan, if you have questions, I see if a family's applied multiple times, just like Brandy said, just be patient because we are continuing to receive applications statewide. And we've actually brought in a whole team of temporary staff to help us process these as quickly as possible. And when I say a whole team, Brandy and I are sitting up here on a floor with a lot of people that are here to help us. So we're moving as quickly as possible. So again, we thank you all for being here with us today. It looks like our next call is May 3rd, 2022. It's hard to believe we're already in May, guys. But I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day, and we will see you in a month. Thank you.
Bye.